31 harsh truths I wish I knew at 21. Make your parents your best friend. And don't wait nearly 30 years to tell them you love them. The night before the wedding, I wrote a letter and read it out loud to my parents in a moment I'll never forget. I've always wanted to make them proud of my accomplishments, but what I never realized, all they ever wanted was to see me happy. Real friends mourn and celebrate with you without ever comparing or keeping score. What you do, who you're with, and where you live are the three biggest decisions you'll make. No decisions will have more of an impact on your happiness and fulfillment than these three. If you have the right woman, she will always test to see what you're made of. She does this because she loves you and she wants to see you grow. Real wealth is being able to go for a haircut on a Monday afternoon. Optimize for time flexibility and autonomy as fast as possible. In the early days of business, every waking moment was required to keep it afloat. Now I can go for haircuts on Monday afternoons, train Muay Thai in Phuket for a few weeks, and take my family for a coffee date knowing the business will still run. Money is best used to buy back time, create leverage, and simplify your life. Having money won't make you happy, but it will stop you thinking about the lack of it. Ironically, my parents could have told me all of these back then. But hey, who listens at that age? 30 was the best year on record. The morning of, I went for a walk with my daughter and thought, damn, it's crazy what you can do in a year. Here's a few highlights. Finding out we were pregnant with Sia, and of course, her arrival 3 weeks ago. Number 2, competing in my first Muay Thai fight after 4 months of starting. Number 3, launching our brand new R&T app, exclusive for our members. Number 4, going a whole year vegan and being the fittest I've ever been. Number 5, crossing a few cool milestones, including 5 years in business, 3,100 plus transformations, and 330 plus podcast episodes. And number 6, spending 3+ months traveling, including 2-month-long stints with Chandni for the first time, which we were never able to do when she worked corporate. Birthdays are always an opportunity for reflection. So as I turned 31 this month, I wanted to share 31 harsh truths I wish I knew at 21. Ironically, my parents could have told me all of these back then. But hey, who listens at that age? Without further ado, let's dive in. Harsh truth number 1. Make your parents your best friends. And don't wait nearly 30 years to tell them you love them. This is real talk. I've been blessed to have a strong relationship with my parents from a young age. I grew up in a household full of love, but one where love was expressed through actions and interactions, not words. I remember before getting married in 2021, I had something burning inside of me I needed to do before tying the knot. Telling my parents I love them out loud. The night before the wedding, I wrote a letter and read it out loud to my parents in a moment I'll never forget. I've always wanted to make them proud of my accomplishments. But what I never realized until my late 20s, all they ever wanted was to see me happy. As I've gotten older, I've learned the importance of making your parents your best friends. Nothing trumps the wholesome love of parents. In fact, it's not until Sia was born a few weeks ago that I realized the true meaning of a mother's love. Not only in Chandni, but in how my mum has been since she's come into our lives. Ironically, the 30 remaining harsh truths I'm about to share have all been pointed out to me at some point or another in the past decades by both my parents. Number 2, real friends mourn and celebrate with you without ever comparing or keeping score. Most are temporary acquaintances for a season in life. My mom said to me recently, there's a reason why at my age I have very few, if any, real close friends. The problem with personal growth is you'll by default drift away from your friends. Every step change you make, your perspective shifts to the point previous common ground disappears. The seasonality of friendships is something you can only quite grasp after you've been through a few seasons in life. After that season finishes, what you're left with is the nostalgia of the good times and a bittersweet reminder of a few more who left the tribe. The day before recording this, my dad reminded me on a walk together. Some of these friends will come back if the season aligns, but most won't, and that's okay. I used to smirk when I heard of people in their 30s saying they can only count their real friends on one hand. Now I totally get it. Number 3, every man and woman needs time with their men and women every single week. We all need friends who call out our BS. I have 2 bullshit detectors in my life, my mom and my wife. Both have a rare intuition about people, situations, and things that never fails to be right. I would always count on them to point out my own bullshit. But over the years, I've discovered the power of sacred guy time on a regular basis. But here's the catch. They need to be guys who will question your beliefs, force you to rethink things, and help you answer and explore the big questions in life. As I've gotten older, I see the less value in having more friends and more value in having guys in my life who empower you to level up and live life on the edge. There will be a dime in the dozen who won't be keeping score and won't be comparing themselves to you. Number 4, what you do, who you're with, and where you live are the 3 biggest decisions you'll make. No decisions will have more of an impact on your happiness and fulfillment than these 3. I chose early on to master an industry I love, health and fitness, and I spent my 20s figuring out my place inside of it and how I can give my best to it. And it's been an iterative process. I started as a gym floor personal trainer, moved to an online coach, and now find my joy in the entrepreneurial aspect of leading teams and building a business to help our target market. I still think there's another thing coming, but I probably have more time in this thing before it evolves again. Along the way, I had my slew of relationships which didn't work out for whatever reason. Some because we outgrew each other, some because of a toxic nature I held on for too long. Now happily married, I can safely say who you're with has the greatest potential to make or break you. I would never have had the growth I've experienced without Chandni in my life. Lastly, I count myself lucky to have grown up in London. I didn't think too much of this until Chandni and I decided to move in together. We spent most of our time in Ealing when dating, where she lived, and I fell in love with the area. I always wanted to be walking distance from great gyms, parks, cafes, and restaurants, whilst being 30 minutes drive from my family. Where I live now ticks every single box. Number 5, know exactly what you want in your partner, then work to be worthy of that caliber of partner. Put yourself out there and never ever compromise on your standards. After a few long-term relationships that didn't work, I realized I needed to figure out exactly what I wanted. And my list was value their health and fitness, but not a fitness freak. They're family oriented, they're growth driven, personally and professionally, and they're independent. The last point is interesting. I didn't want someone who was needy, especially because I'd experienced this before. What I was after was a woman who had her own growth plans, but was aware that if we came together on our mission, we'd be unstoppable. Number 6, if you have the right woman, she will always test to see what you're made of. She does this because she loves you and she wants to see you grow. I've had periods in the past few years where I was thinking, why is Chandni always testing me? Then I stumbled across a fantastic book, The Way of the Superior Man, where David Dida discusses how masculine and feminine energies come together, and how the feminine energy will always test the masculine to see what he's made of, and if he can rise to the challenge. Feminine energy is both your woman and the universe, and you can either get triggered and fail, or you can rise to the challenge and pass with flying colors. The right woman will always test you, because they want to know you're living at your edge, in accordance with your values, and on the path to your potential. Anything less will depolarize the relationship and cause her to take on the more masculine role to keep it balanced. This was a game-changing truth for me. When I discovered this in motion, I realized it to be a sign I needed to level up. Harsh truth number 7. Your definition of success can be whatever you want it to be. The discovery starts with knowing and accepting your core values. This is a hard one to accept when you're still young. I still wrestle with this now if I get caught up in what I think I should be doing. I've known from my early 20s what I value and enjoy, but what I've often done is think, this isn't enough, or it shouldn't be like this. So I end up burying my head in the sand, forgetting about my values, and grinding myself into living other people's version of success. I've spent a lot of time thinking over the past decade, am I living true to what I really want or not? And without fail, it always boils down to breaking down my favorite days when I lived my life by design in line with my core values, which are health, growth, service, connection, and autonomy. It's no surprise that these favorite days always include hard workouts, long walks, writing, business building, deep conversations, and space to think. Ultimately, a freedom to explore without clutter is important to me. That's why I stopped personal training on the gym floor, because my day was driven by a client appointment. When I have my favorite days, ironically being most days, I feel successful. Number 8, the faster you can decide what your enough is, the faster you can enjoy the bliss and beauty of the present moment. The problem with not deciding what your enough is you'll always be digging into a bottomless pit. A friend of mine once said, decide how much money you need to pay the bills, travel, give back, and save for the future. Once you've made that each year, the rest is all a game. He runs a multi-million-dollar business, but his number was shockingly low. I asked what he does with all the surplus, to which he replied, I donate it all to charity. This was a pivotal moment in my growth because it helped me take money off the table and by default, enjoy the journey more. Number 9, success is a daily feeling you can choose to experience, not a tangible destination that keeps on moving. When you know your values and you know you're enough, you can make the conscious decision to experience success and happiness. I wish I knew at 21 that success is a feeling, not a tangible destination. If you're ambitious, You'll never be satisfied with a metric because you know there'll always be more. So the trick is to choose the feeling of success, then play the game of life filled with gratitude for the opportunity. Number 10, gratitude is hard to acknowledge but easy to find. Ruminating on the past is the death of happiness. Writing my gratitude down in a journal or meditating on it hasn't worked for me. I've always found the act of being grateful difficult to genuinely feel. The only times I ever feel it is after one of my favorite days, or if I pinch myself in the moment of flow whilst it's happening. But it's a work in progress to experience more and more times of damn, this life is actually really, really good. What trapped me in my mind in my mid to late 20s was rumination. If there was one bad habit I've worked hard to kill, it's this. It's getting caught up in minutes, hours, and days of, I wish I did this. What if this had happened that way? If I said or did this scenario would have happened. And there's a big difference between learning from experiences and drowning in the pain, anger, and regret of your perceptions. Rumination will destroy any feelings of gratitude or happiness, especially when most of what's happened in your past has been fabricated, exaggerated, or edited to suit your story. The answer lies in the next hard truth. Number 11, learn to say yes and accept everything. Always think it is what it is. When I asked Chandni for advice on my struggles with rumination, her answer was simple. Just say yes and accept everything. There's no good or bad, it just is. Every moment has two sides of a coin. For many years, I chose to look at the wrong side, and forgetting that ultimately, our perception of each side is only a perception. Walking around and thinking yes is an easy way to beat the trap of ruminating the past and getting into the present. Number 12, no one actually cares what you're doing. They're too obsessed with their own lives to care about you. I remember during the RNT rebrand in 2021, I was worried one of the 300 articles we have on the website wasn't edited properly. A friend of mine said, I hate to break it to you, but people aren't waiting for the rebrand to go live so they can check the grammar on page 4 of article 298. When you're young and hungry, you think everyone is watching your every move. The reality is, everyone is worried about their own problems and living in their own heads. It reminds you of one of my favorite marketing mantras, what's in it for me, i.e. the audience. Number 13, most productivity tips, for example, morning routines, are cleverly disguised forms of procrastinations, especially the fancy ones. I've tried every morning routine possible. Intermittent fasting, cold showers, red meat, meditation, journaling, breathwork, gratitude, mantras, workouts, you name it. What I've learned only the last year is most of it is productive procrastination. Most of the personal development world is designed to make you do everything but the actual work. I once went through a period of doing the following every single morning. Wake up, journal, meditation, long walk, coffee, workout, read, gratitude texts. And this all ran from 6 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. with the goal of putting me in the right frame of mind to work. And whilst it sounds great on paper, the reality is my best periods of productivity come from when I wake up, make coffee, and get to work. That's just what works for me. All the rest can wait till later on. Number 14, paradise is no alarms, long walks in the park, writing, thinking time, clear calendars, hard exercise, and deep conversations with loved ones. I have little to add to this except to note nothing on this list costs money. My goal is to craft my days around these activities because what if this was the paradise we've all been promised? Number 15, double down on the activities you do that make you lose track of time, delegate or delete everything else. Growing up, we're taught to work on our weaknesses. Only in my late 20s did I realize the trick is to do the opposite, to know what you're uniquely gifted at and get rid of and or delegate the rest. The activities which make me feel most connected to myself are writing and hard training. I know I'm growing most when I'm writing, either personally and professionally, pushing myself to the extreme physically. In business, my strengths revolve around big picture and strategic thinking. This is where I can give the most value to my team and the company. The areas I enjoy less are finance, operations, processes, and HR. So I've hired people who absolutely love it to manage these areas. Number 16, you can only earn the right to work smart after you work hard. The game then changes to maximizing your output from the least number of inputs. I often look back to my early to mid 20s and wonder how I pulled off the hours I did. The reality is you have to grind out a lot of your early years in whichever career you're in. It's impossible to learn and earn the next stage where leverage allows you to switch gears. I found the switch from working hard to smart to be difficult. It's easy to work hard and just go hell for leather. To maximize the input and output equation in favor of the latter is the challenge. And this is why the hamster wheel is easy, but climbing the ladders of leverage are only for the few. And I'd say I'm at the very early stages of this next journey, learning to work like a lion, be more strategic, and switch my thinking from how can I do this to who can do this. Number 17, there's never going to be a perfect time to have children. Your team at work is not your family. Don't build a career and forget to build a life. I never doubted I wanted children. The reason I stopped personal training on the gym floor was because I wanted to be an active father to my children one day. Anyone who knows a personal trainer lifestyle knows it's 5 a.m. in the morning to 10 p.m. at night, often 6 days a week. The unsociable hours makes being present with your family a difficult reality when you spend most of your days off sleeping and recovering. As I started building my business online, I questioned whether ever having a family was possible, if there'd be a right time, and if I still wanted it. The reality was, I was gripped with the fear of losing my flexibility I've created for myself. I loved being able to do what I wanted when I wanted. I felt scared to give it up for the very reason I wanted it in the first place. My fears were all in my head, which is when I learned there's never a perfect time. Work is always going to be there, but the opportunity to create a family can easily be lost. Number 18, real wealth is being able to go for a haircut on a Monday afternoon. Optimize for time flexibility and autonomy as fast as possible. Whenever I do something in the middle of the day that isn't working now, I experience a great sense of gratitude. I spent half of the past decade without time flexibility and half of it with it. But only in the past 1 to 2 years, as I've built the team of my business, have I been able to actually experience true autonomy. In the early days of business, every waking moment was required to keep it afloat. Now I can go for haircuts on Monday afternoons, train Muay Thai in Phuket for a few weeks, and take my family for a coffee date in the morning, knowing the business will still run. This is because the system is set up in a way I can work when I want, which allows me to do my best work at all times. Number 19, your bank account is one of many scorecards in life, and it may or may not be a sign of your progress. Make sure you pick which scorecards matter. The beauty of life is there are no rules. We all have the opportunity to make it up as we go along and create whichever scorecards matter. In my early 20s, I used to think it was all about money. Now I realize time freedom and my relationships are my personal big ones. The harsh truth is, in the end, we're all gonna die. So until then, create whatever meaning you want from this all and assign the metrics you value. Number 20, money is best used to buy back time, create leverage, and simplify your life. Having money won't make you happy, but it will stop you thinking about the lack of it. There's a new status game happening right now where people shun wealth creation. I love making money and creating wealth, but I love the game behind it and what it allows me to do. Buying back time, for example, can be as simple as paying extra to have food delivered versus walking to the shops. Creating leverage can be paying for more media eyeballs, hiring more team members, and building proprietary technology within R&T, even recording a podcast like this. Simplifying life can be hiring an assistant, clearing debt, enjoying coffee shops, and being able to focus on the things you enjoy. When money is off the table, you can stop thinking about money. When you stop thinking about money, you can enjoy life a lot more. What won't work for happiness is using money to buy watches, cars, and fancy hotels. That only keeps you on the hedonic treadmill. Number 21, fulfilling your potential is not just about work. It's selflessly giving as much as you can to the few areas which matter most. I have this moment I play often in my head. I'm at the end of life, at the gates of heaven. The guard standing outside has 2 scrolls which he pulls out. On the first is written everything planned for me to accomplish and experience in life. The second is what I actually did. For many years, I considered this to be related to work. Slowly over the course of the last few years, I've realized it to be the ability to give wholeheartedly to my few priorities: my family, my health, and my work. I believe we're all destined for something amazing. The beauty of life is we're all here to play different games and figure out which one we can play the most naturally. Number 22, if it's not criminal or critical, don't waste time sweating it. Most stressful situations can be reframed with the question, will this matter in 5 years? If I'm not careful, I can quickly become an overthinker. The way I've tried to battle this is by asking myself a few questions. Will this matter in 5 years? What will the older version of me say? Is there anything I can do about it? The reality is, most things we do in life don't matter at all. I could have saved myself a lot of time, energy, and headspace by learning this earlier. Number 23, comparison kills dreams. The time and energy you spend thinking about others will destroy your ability to realize your own magic. A friend of mine once said to me, Take a real hard look the first time. Look as much as you like, go into all the rabbit holes, but then never look again. The second time will kill you and eat you up. I'm still shocked by how true this is. When you come across something new or someone new, the first time is always filled with intrigue and curiosity. But every time you go back, you place yourself into this inferior complex. And slowly but surely, you start losing belief in yourself and your own unique gifts. Another friend of mine on this same topic said something to me which changed the game. If you want what someone else has and is good at, be willing to trade his or hers entire life for it. I've yet to find a situation where this reframe hasn't helped. Number 24. Over a long enough time, karma will always set the score. But don't live waiting or expecting it to happen. Just keep doing the right thing. I don't have the evidence to say this is a truth because you're never really going to know. This truth is rooted in faith. The universe works in mysterious but cyclical ways. Everything always balances out if given a long enough time horizon. If I was speaking to my younger self, I'd tell him to keep doing the right thing no matter what happens. Number 25. Confidence is contextual. The only path to improving it is consistent repetition and competency. You can't read or think your way to confidence. The reason a body transformation increases your confidence isn't the six-pack or the weight loss. It's from saying yes to yourself and no to the BS over and over again. It's doing the hard things even when you don't feel like it. Confidence develops because it might be the first time you ever stuck the course. It doesn't come from visualization or reading your goals out loud. It's the fact you kept promises to yourself and tick the boxes you were meant to do every single day. The beauty of confidence is this can be applied to every aspect of your life. When we first started RNT Radio podcast, I hated it. I didn't like recording audio or video. I much preferred being in my cave, writing away. But I saw the power in podcasting to tell stories and give value to audience. So I stuck with the course. Now, 330 plus episodes later, I feel confident recording a podcast with anyone and anywhere, and confident I can do a great job with it. Knowing confidence is contextual empowers you to take the first action in becoming better at the thing you think you can't do. Number 26, your gut never lies, but we like to bury issues with alcohol, drugs, food. Anytime our vices go up, something needs to change. I can't think of one situation where my gut instinct has been wrong, but I can think of many situations where I've buried it under vices like excess partying, late nights, drinking, and food. I remember a vivid one in 2018. I was procrastinating on firing a key player in the team. He wasn't pulling his weight or delivering any results, but I kept putting it off because I thought it would have a bad impact on the business. So instead of pulling the pin, I started going out more, buying more social time, and burying the problem under vices. A few weeks into this, a close friend asked, Akash, why are you always out and up late every night? Very next day, running on minimal sleep, I fell asleep whilst writing on my laptop. I was staying at my parents'. My mum walked in to say, Akash, you know what you need to do. The faster you can act on what your gut is telling you, the quicker you can grow. That was a lesson I learned from this whole situation. Number 27. The ability to be alone is a superpower few will want to explore. A simple 30-minute unplugged walk can work wonders for your mental health. I found a direct correlation between my media consumption and my mental health. I also know if I'm resistant to going for a walk unplugged, something isn't quite right. It's like the old adage, if you're too busy to meditate for 5 minutes, you need to meditate for an hour. The pressure to maximize every minute of the day often creates confusion in what it actually means. I thought it meant if you're not producing, you should be consuming, and vice versa. But a harsh truth I wish I knew earlier was the power of just being alone, in my thoughts, and being comfortable with them. Number 28, prioritize recharge time. Burnout, or the desire to quit, comes from neglecting our internal energy at the expense of pursuing external goals. I used to wear burnout as a badge of honor. Even after I collapsed twice in 2019, I never changed my behaviors. I saw recharge time as a waste of time. Instead, when I felt tired, I doubled down and bask in the masochist mentality of how much pain can I take. My trigger moment to make a real shift came the moment I found out I had a daughter coming. Only when writing and planning this podcast and thinking over the timeline of events can I see the direct link between finding out she was coming and my mind making a shift. Number 29, there's no perfect diet or workout program, only core principles to manipulate your lifestyle and preferences. I spent most of my 20s trying to figure out the secret sauce to body transformation. At 21, I was wasting hundreds of pounds every month on fad supplements while stuck in a constant state of paralysis by analysis. Should I eat chicken or turkey? Is it 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. the optimal time for breakfast? Are 5 or 6 sets better? And so on. There's a constant whirl of second guessing myself and driving myself mad with questions. My search ultimately led to where I am now. If only I knew then that most of what I was doing was an absolute waste of time. Similarly, I think it's impossible to achieve mastery in a field without going through the years of searching, experimenting, and realizing the complicated stuff doesn't actually matter. Number 30, the point isn't to get in shape. The point is to figure out how to stay in shape without obsessing about it. At 21, I decided to get bodybuilding shredded. I learned for the first time what it took to go to the absolute extremes of body composition. Immediately after, however, I gained 7 kilos in 7 days. 6 weeks later, I was 13 kilos up. Over the next year, I struggled with my relationship with food and experienced all the negatives of yo-yo dieting. At the end of 2015, I broke the cycle and started the long path on figuring out how to stay in shape year round without being obsessed. Whilst I wish I knew the power of a proper reverse diet when I was 21, the R&T 5-phase methodology would never have been born otherwise. And number 31, the final harsh truth. Recording podcasts like this and worrying about personal growth is all a privilege. Be grateful for the opportunity. Thinking about harsh truths is a privilege. Thinking about business growth, health and fitness, and having amazing relationships is all a privilege. If there's one thing I've taken from this experience of documenting 31 harsh truths I wish I knew at 21, it's the gratitude to know that I can do this. I realized as I enter my 30s, the more things I can do just for the sake of it, the more I enjoy my life. I didn't need to record this, but it's given me the perspective and gratitude I didn't expect, but probably needed more than ever. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was something a little bit different. I spent a week before my birthday recently documenting these 31 harsh truths that I wish I knew at 21, and it's been a really incredible experience. First writing it out and then recording it here for you guys. Hopefully you found some value, found one of the harsh truths that resonate with you. And if you'd like to read the article version to share with your family and friends, please check the show notes or the link description below.